welcoming you to the Week 7 edition of Kirby's Kickoff, getting you set for another exciting week across high school football. Thanks so much for taking the time to spend some of it with us here on Kirby's Kickoff. I'm your host, Josh Kirby, and we are powered by Frederick County Parks and Recreation. Week 7 of high school football is here. Can we believe that Week 7 is upon us? I surely can't. So, without further ado, let's take a look at what happened week number 6. Both Handley and Strasburg were on byes. Skyline over Central. This was a team that Skyline picked back up after a couple years off, but Class 2 school in Central in the Bull Run District facing off against Skyline, and Zayden Burks highlighted heavily in this matchup. And Skyline's defense, a bend don't break mentality, but they were able to take care of business, holding Central without retaking the lead towards the end of the game. And the Skyline Hawks, a huge 2-game winning streak. Liberty over Warren County 51-8. Clarke County travels down to Central Lunenburg, and Central Lunenburg scores 48, and Clarke County unable to put any points on the scoreboard. Jameswood traveling to Falls Church, defeating Meridian 41-22, and the big matchup, Shenandoah over Millbrook 35-14, and the score doesn't really indicate how close the game was to start, but Shenandoah winning the turnover battle with an interception and a fumble recovery. And their ground game was very effective as well, not just using one back in Jalen Tasco Murray that we've always been accustomed to seeing, but Jalen Tasco Murray, Donovan Blackwell, and other backs in the mix, keeping things fresh. And I believe that kept the Millbrook Pioneers on their toes defensively. And defensively, there were some good things that happened for Millbrook, but like Coach Nick Manuel said, Shenandoah was just a more physical team. And that showed towards the end of this football game as the Shenandoah Warriors are going into a bye week with a big Northwestern District win over the Millbrook Pioneers. Now, let's take a look at matchups this week. Millbrook on the road traveling to face the Jameswood Colonels at their place. Central out of Woodstock traveling up to face Clarke County, who is eager to try to get their first win of the season. The Clarke County Eagles are a young team, but they are fighting hard week in and week out. Strasburg, after the bye, traveling down to face Page County. Skyline travels to Fauquier. Warren County travels to Manassas Park. And here is the best game of the week, I think. Two teams coming off byes. Handley 2 weeks prior, a 42-0 victory over Westmoreland. Kettle Run, a 14-7 upset loss as Millbrook came to town. These two teams face off on Saturday at the Handley Bowl as Kettle Run and Handley, fresh off bye weeks, battling against each other this Saturday afternoon. That should be a really fun one to watch. I'm excited to see how that all unfolds as we continue. But enough with me talking. This is Kirby's Kickoff. We are powered by Frederick County Parks and Recreation. A lot of activities coming up for Frederick County Parks and Recreation. Youth basketball right around the corner. Early bird sign up until October 12th. Visit them at fcprd.net for more information. They have a big New York City trip that tends to get full every year. You can sign up for that as well. Winter Wonderland right around the corner. And even before that, the Thanksgiving Day 5K. So a lot of stuff to do with our friends over at Frederick County Parks and Recreation. So make sure you check out their website at fcprd.net for more information. And we thank them for their support of Kirby on Sports, the Kirby on Sports podcast, and Kirby's Kickoff. Without further ado, we have a jam-packed show talking to coaches from across the area. We have interviews with Dan Gloster and Ryan Rutherford, getting you set for week 7 of high school football in our local area and beyond. Stick right here with us. You're tuned in to Kirby's Kickoff. For sports fans living in condominium and homeowners associations, as well as business professionals, when you need a reserve study, PM Plus Reserves has been in business since 1990. Their studies are accurate and easy to understand. Check them out when your association needs a study. www.pmplusreserves.com. You can also contact them at 703-803-8436. Once again, www.pmplusreserves.com. Is it finally time to upgrade your home's interior? How about with an authentic farm table made locally from recycled barnwood? Shenandoah Primitives, based right here in Winchester, Virginia, makes farm tables, benches, tables, coffee tables, and a long list of other items for your home decorating needs. At Shenandoah Primitives, function and style are combined for great furniture that will last generations. If you're interested in combining the industrial look of metal with wood, or considering something incredibly unique with a live edge, Shenandoah Primitives turns those ideas into reality. Thinking about a mirror, wine rack, or other accent piece for your home, Shenandoah Primitives can assist with that as well. As a local small business, Shenandoah Primitives is happy to work with each client for a custom design or schedule an appointment to come out and view current inventory. Local, high-quality, handmade items can be found at Shenandoah Primitives. Find us on Facebook and Instagram or visit us at www.shenandoahprimitives.com. Once again, that's www.shenandoahprimitives.com.
Hey there, Kirby on Sports with Podcast fans. Mark Francis with Icon Real Estate here for you. Remember, if you have any real estate needs, buying or selling, I'm your guy. I would love to help you out. And you can also find me on my own personal podcast, Iconic Talk, where you get a chance to learn about the local real estate market and why Winchester is an amazing place to live. Reach out to me anytime, 540-247-1527, and find Iconic Talk anywhere you get your podcasts.
This is Kirby's Kickoff. We're powered by Frederick County Parks and Recreation. Week 7 of high school football, looking at the league in 2 matchups just a little bit closer. I'm joined by Dan Gloster of Winchester's Classic Country 95.7. He has the call as Millbrook travels to face James Wood, and on Saturday, Handley and Kettle Run. First and foremost, Millbrook and James Wood. Dan, James Wood last week on the road, a slow start, but defeating Meridian in fine fashion, and the Millbrook Pioneers falling in a district game, which you were at, against crosstown rival Shenandoah. These two teams, I feel like, could be another exciting matchup come tonight, Dan. But starting with Millbrook, how do you think they persevere from a loss last week to Shenandoah to try to get back in the winning column against a very tough physical James Wood football team?
Just got to put it behind them, Josh. I mean, they did things well at times, but then they faltered at times, critical times. I think they had their 2 turnovers were in, definitely on the plus side of the field, and I'm pretty sure one of them was in the red zone, which could have brought them to within 7 before Lewis threw the touch or the interception to Chase Dybert. So just got to put it behind them and execute better in crunch time. It's an interesting matchup because if it was last year, you'd be looking at a grinded out Millbrook team. But now with Nick Manuel, the head coach, they're polar opposite to what they were last year. They're throwing the ball all over the yard. They could not run it against Shenandoah, so they just went to the pass, and Lewis threw for 330 30 yards. So they can throw it, and that might help them because but they couldn't defend the run, Millbrook, and that was their biggest challenge against Shenandoah. And I think James Wood is really more of a pass first team, so that might help Millbrook a little bit in that they don't necessarily have to defend the run as much. But if you're Todd Wilson, do you see that and say, we need to run the ball more? So that'll be interesting to see come Friday night.
And what I saw as a big strength for Millbrook, Keon Lewis and Rome Johnson, that connection. Johnson, I believe, had 2 touchdowns and a very athletic catch that I was right on top of on the sideline there covering the game. I mean, that connection, just Keon Lewis finding those skill guys, I believe that's a huge skill set for this Millbrook offense.
Most definitely. Rome Johnson, Nick McKinney had a couple of big catches, and we hadn't really heard about him. He didn't. I didn't call his name when they played Heritage the last game we did with Millbrook. So, um, yeah, but definitely Rome Johnson. He's going to be a player that the secondary for James Wood's going to have to keep an eye on, maybe even double team. But that should open things up for other players as well.
So James Wood with a win over Meridian, back in the winning column, 2-game winning streak, back at home. And James Wood, the Ridge campus, that's always a tough place to play.
Most definitely. They're comfortable there. Take away the Shenandoah game, they're undefeated at home, scored a lot of points. So they'll definitely be ready to get a quick start. They were sluggish. They were trailed 9-7 at half at Meridian, but they only got to the game about 20 minutes before game time due to some scheduling issues, I believe, with the buses. So that won't be an issue, and expect James Wood to start better, start quicker against Millbrook. And again, just like last week, it's going to be on Millbrook's defense to play stronger than they did early. They gave up a touchdown right out of the gate to Shenandoah, so already you're kind of on your heels. So if they can get some early stops, that's gonna boost their confidence for sure against really high octane, if you will, offense for the Colonels.
So from that matchup on Friday, you can hear that on Winchester's Classic Country 95.7. I think this is the prime game of the week, Dan. Handley and Kettle Run both coming off bye weeks. Kettle Run travels to the Handley Bowl on Saturday to face off against the unbeaten John Handley Judges, and the power rankings have come out. Shenandoah's #1 in the Region 4D rankings, and right behind them are the Handley Judges. Tough Kettle Run team who's coming off a loss from Millbrook 2 weeks ago. This is just slated, in my book, to be the game of the week in this area.
Oh, for sure. Kettle Run has had Handley's number over the past few years. Beat them 2 years ago at the Handley Bowl. So Handley's definitely going to they've got their attention for sure. Kettle Run, they finally faced a quality opponent in Millbrook and didn't fare well for them, turning the ball over 3 times. You want to look for Handley's defense to be opportunistic, try and get some turnovers. But Kettle Run in Class 3, they're definitely going to be a tough task for Handley, who honestly really hasn't. I guess Eastern View's probably their toughest game, and that was their opener. Just haven't really. You got to play who's on the schedule, but they really haven't played anybody. So this will be their toughest test yet. The Kettle Run Cougars.
This is going to be a huge test, as you just said, to see where the Handley Judges match up in this area when it comes to this game. And if they can come out and do what they have done with success, I feel like the back end of this season, because we're already in week 7, Dan, believe it or not, this could be huge in telling at how this season might finish off and maybe who might be hot going into the playoffs. I know that's still a little ways away, but still something to keep in the back of our minds there.
Oh yeah, for sure. This starts a pretty tough stretch for Handley. You got Kettle Run, Manassas Park, not so much the week after, but then you have James Wood on the road, Shenandoah on the road, or I'm sorry, Shenandoah on the road, James Wood on the road. That's on Halloween night, and then at home to Millbrook. So those last three games, along with this Kettle Run game, that's really going to decide where they're going to be. Can they play? Can they host a home game? Will they be in the top four? If they can sweep the games, no doubt they'll be the one seed in Region 4D. But I think if you go 3-1 against these teams, and one of those wins is against Shenandoah, I think you definitely could have a top four seed. But you go 2-2 or worse, and I think you're going to fall out of that top four. And Handley's had to travel the last couple of years to Salem both times, and those both ended in losses. They desperately want a home game, so this will start a big stretch for them coming down the home stretch of the season, and it is pretty crazy to think that we are already in week 7.
So let's just go around the league just for a moment. Clarke County, a tough loss to Central of Lunenburg, and they're playing in Bull Run District play against the Central Falcons. Clarke County trying to find their first win of the season with the youth of this team of fighting and doing the best that they can.
Yep, it's going to be from one Central, that's Central of Lunenburg, to another Central of Woodstock. Not going to be easy. The Falcons lost a shootout with Skyline last week, 42-40, so they can score. And that's been the challenge for Clarke's defense, is allowing a lot of points. And conversely, the Eagles' offense has only scored 24 points in their, I believe, 5 games total. So that's going to be a tough one in Berryville for Clarke County taking on Central.
And last but not least, as a note, we're getting later into the season. The Barlinden Crimson Apple is on the line, and I heard that Shenandoah can win outright with a victory at home against Handley here in 2 weeks. So that could be wrapped up sooner rather than later, unless Handley make some noise or these other teams. But it looks like even if Shenandoah can't win outright, the tiebreaker would still go to Shenandoah either or in this situation.
That's interesting. Yep, with it being so Shenandoah's already beaten Wood and Millbrook, they would just need to beat Handley to make the clean sweep. But I guess my thought would be, if Handley wins out, since they haven't played anybody yet, you would think that they would get it. So maybe that's what you're saying. Not really sure, but yeah, it's those games coming up. A lot of meaning to the area teams, to the area schools, and really just a great competition each year, honoring the late Ron Lind and the late Walter Barr.
Absolutely. Winchester Classic Country 95.7. They have a full slate with yours truly, Dan Gloster, on the call on Friday. Millbrook traveling to James Wood, and Saturday, Handley hosting Kettle Run. Always a pleasure talking with Dan Gloster about football week in and week out, right here on Kirby's Kickoff. Dan, certainly appreciate the time again, my friend.
You got it. Thank you, Josh.
This is Kirby's Kickoff. We're back with so much more right after this.
Located right here in Winchester, Virginia, Barrett Pest and Termite Services celebrates 25 years of service in 2022. And our veteran staff has over 100 years of combined experience preventing and remediating pest and termite infestations. From ants and termites on the ground to mosquitoes, yellow jackets, and hornets in the air, to one-time corrective services for rodents, to ongoing maintenance, Barrett does the job for residential and commercial customers. We also offer discounts for seniors, first responders, and military. What's bugging you? Let us know today, and we'll be out before you know it. That's Barrett Pest and Termite Services, 540-340-3922.
This is Kirby's Kickoff, powered by Frederick County Parks and Recreation. Week 7 of high school football, we take a look at a matchup just a little bit closer. I'm joined by the Duke, Ryan Rutherford, his coverage with Randy Woodward, the high school football game of the week on the River 95.3 this week. Central travels up to face Clarke County, a winless Clarke County Eagles team, Ryan, that are desperate for their first win after falling big to Central Lunenburg on the road last week. What do you think Clarke needs to do to try to make this a close and competitive contest tonight?
Oh man, that is a great question because they're gonna have to do a lot of things right, maybe get a little lucky along the way too. But it's definitely gonna be a tall ask. These are honestly both teams are not quite at the level that we've seen them at in previous years. I mean, it seems like it was just what 2, 3 years ago, Central was on their way to a state championship game. Now they've lost 3 games in a row. Just last year, Clarke County was undefeated through the regular season, Bull Run district champions, and now they're winless. So a game that last year would have probably been little bit more exciting and maybe have a little more impact on the playoff race, but still a very big game for both of these teams. Clarke County trying to just take strides, show that they're moving in the right direction. That's going to be the biggest key for them. But to win, they're going to need to get lucky. Also, of course, time of possession is key for a team when you don't have the skill as the other side. Just keep the football and keep it away from them. But to do that, you got to put together first downs, eliminate mistakes. Last week, they had a few really bad snaps that ended up costing them about 35 total yards. And when you add that with penalties, you just can't have that many negative plays.
And in Bull Run district play, you really don't know what could happen with the competition in the area when it comes to the Bull Run district.
Yeah, no, and Clarke County, they know the Bull Run is always going to be a really tough one. Central always knows that. Both teams, I thought, did a really good job scheduling tough non-district competition to get them ready for Bull Run play. Of course, when you schedule tough competition, that also puts you sometimes a little behind in the win-loss column. But really, the most important games are still in front of both of these teams with all the Bull Run district games coming up. So even though I'm sure they're both disappointed with their non-district records, what they want to accomplish is still very much achievable for both of them.
So, Clarke's fighting hard, not getting the results that they want on the scoreboard. But it seems like week in and week out, from what I'm hearing, this team is fighting hard and not quitting. I think that's huge for this coaching staff. The results aren't there at this moment, but you have a young team that basically everybody will be coming back. And
Yeah.
I think the future is very bright for this Clarke County Eagles team if we look at it from that perspective.
Oh, definitely. I think that's why you do see these teams and these players for Clarke County continuing to fight to the end, is because they know they're all going to be back next year. And if you start taking your foot off the gas now, maybe your starting spot is not there next year. Maybe somebody else who's working a little harder in the weight room in the off season, or finishing plays right now when the scoreboard's the 35-point deficit. If you're not finishing to the whistle, I think Coach Childs and them are going to notice that. It's all an opportunity for you to play your way into the lineup for not just this year, but next year and in the future. So yeah, I think that the continuous improvement is, we're going to see that all year long from them. Just probably not as fast as Clarke County is hoping it would get there.
And looking at Central, it seems like their record doesn't indicate the amount of explosive talent that I saw that they had on this Central Falcon squad. A 3-game losing streak, but they have weapons that could turn this season around rather quickly in my mind.
Definitely. They have one of the more explosive offenses you'll see at the Class 2 level. Class 2 is usually filled up with the single wings like Clarke County, the T formations like Strasburg, those heavy running formations, but Central can really spread it out. They can put points up. You saw last week versus Skyline, they fell behind a bit early, but still ended up finishing with 40 points and basically a 2-point conversion away from tying or winning that game. So they have a really exciting offense. Sean Stead has had some really big plays from the wide receiver position, and Noah Moss is certainly one of the top quarterbacks you will see in the Valley, especially at the Class 2 level. So they do have that explosive play potential that is pretty rare at their level.
It's going to be a lot of fun as the River 95.3 has the call. Clarke County and Central, a Bull Run District matchup. And one thing that is for certain, Bull Run District attracts a big crowd, and it's a lot of fun, exciting football to watch. So, with that, Ryan, we really appreciate the time, as always, with you and Randy on the call, the River 95.3, and we hope you enjoy it out there on Friday.
Yes, we'll see you next time.
This is Kirby's Kickoff, and we're back with more right after this.
It's Jason, General Manager at Shenandoah Music, here to tell you all about...
Jay, what are you doing here?
Well, Matt, I'm trying to tell the people about our selection of guitars, basses, keyboards, drum sets.
I know that, but I always do the radio spots.
You get to have all the fun. I want to tell everyone about our huge selection, unbeatable prices, unmatched service, and in-depth knowledge.
Jay, I really don't think now is the time to discuss.
So remember, folks, when you think music, think Shenandoah Music in Winchester.
That's my line.
Are you looking to take the final steps in order to get your driver's license? Look no further. On the Road Driving School offers teen and adult driving, along with classroom sessions for teens and adults, DMV re-exam classes, and driver improvement classes. On the Road Driving School has what you need in order to get on the road. Contact them today at 540-869-6105. That's On the Road Driving School. 540-869-6105. On the Road Driving School will get you on the road. This is Kirby's Kickoff, powered by Frederick County Parks and Recreation. So glad you're with us for Week 7 of high school football coverage in our area. Taking a look at the Warren County Wildcats. They travel up to face Manassas Park last week, falling to Liberty. Now joining me, the head coach of the Warren County Wildcats, Coach Josh Breeden. Coach, thank you as always for your time. In a matchup last week against Liberty, despite the loss, what did you see that stood out to you positively from your squad?
There were definitely some flashes of us being able to execute some of the things we're trying to do both offensively and defensively. We had some miscommunications defensively or some breakdown in coverages on scramble drill that allowed them to have some big throws down the field. And then offensively, we're just not executing fundamentals. We're not blocking to the standard that we are capable of. We definitely got to clean some things up. We're 5 games in now. Things haven't gone our way, but we have 5 more opportunities to clean it up and take a little chance at a run in the playoffs.
And how do you make the most as a coaching staff and for your players? How are you trying to maximize every opportunity to try to turn things around and get a spot in the playoffs, if you will, with 5 games left?
Well, I think we had to shift our focus, right? To start the year, we had some really big goals, some really big aspirations. Now the situation that we're in, we kind of need to condense our view a little bit, get a little bit of tunnel vision on some small things that we can really focus on executing, some small achievable goals that we can just stack up on top of each other, which will lead to bigger accomplishments. So, we really had to take a look at ourselves this week. Really see some of the things that, we're not executing well and really do a deep dive as to why that is. And then put together a coaching plan, practice plan to fix those things. So I think we've done a pretty good job these last couple of days. We just got to execute on game day.
And I know losing in football, nobody likes. I would assume that this leaves a really bad taste in your players' mouth, leaving them hungry to try to go out, compete, to get that first victory. How has the week of practice been with your team? Because I know you've said in the past that they're fighting very hard for you and the coaching staff.
Yeah, I think that that hunger is still there. They definitely want to get one under their belt, get one in the right column. And, I think that we have the players to do it. Like I said, I can't say enough good things about the guys that we have and their work ethic and the tenacity that they play with every week. We as a coaching staff had to really do a deep dive into our plan and put together a game plan that we can execute and things that we can do to stack up those small victories I was talking about earlier. to give ourselves a little bit of juice and momentum and give our guys, a little bit of success early so that it carries on throughout the game.
Coach, what can you tell us about Manassas Park as you're traveling to face them tonight?
They're obviously their season isn't going too well, but they definitely have some athletes on that team. I know it's a first-year head coach, so I know some of the struggles that I'm sure he's dealing with this year. But I think he's doing a really good job with getting his guys, in positions to be successful. I think that I do see some improvement throughout their season, and some of the things I've seen on film. I think that they're a sneaky football team of they have opportunities to create explosive plays. So we can't take anything for granted. We have to have a really good week of practice. We're in no position right now to overlook anybody. So we have to put our best foot forward and play our best game, because if not, they could punch us in the mouth.
And based on what you've seen from your team in terms of positives that you'd like to maybe work on to move into this game against Manassas Park, what are sort of your keys to victory in this game tonight?
Well, I think defensively we've gotten a little bit better over the last couple of weeks. Specifically with just alignment and assignment. Although we are still missing tackles and we're still having some coverage breakdowns and scramble drill, we're getting lined up a lot faster than we were. The communication pre-snap is getting much better. We just gotta fly to the ball and make the tackle. Offensively, like I said, it's putting our guys in position to have success early. When we get behind the sticks, we fall apart a little bit. So, we need to give ourselves opportunity to have success early in drives, get in front of the stick, stay on schedule. And then special teams, it's been a project all year. It always is, cleaning things up, making sure that we're really focusing time for that at practice, because they can get forgotten about. We can't forget about that. We have to take advantage of every opportunity we have. So special teams third of the game, we've gotten better week by week. And I think those guys are doing a really good job.
It's Warren County. They travel up to Manassas Park to cover week 7 of high school football in our local area. It's always a pleasure catching up with the head coach of the Warren County Wildcats, Josh Breeden, right here on Kirby's Kickoff. Coach, certainly appreciate your time again, my friend.
I appreciate you, man.
This is Kirby's Kickoff, and we're back with more right after this. Fall is here, and New Look Landscaping has everything your home needs to look its best. Brighten your yard with colorful mums available now. And don't forget, New Look offers professional power washing to give your home a fresh, clean look. Call New Look Landscaping today at 540-327-1244 or email them 2025.nullook@gmail.com. This is Kirby's Kickoff, powered by Frederick County Parks and Recreation. Week 7 of high school football, the Skyline Hawks traveled to face the Fauquier Falcons last week. A 42-40 victory over the Central Falcons. Now pleased to be joined by the head coach of the Hawks, Heath Gilbert. And Coach, from what I heard, it was a high-flying, explosive game, very competitive back and forth, getting the 2-point victory. What really stood out to you and the coaching staff in a big win against Central?
We have to go with our perseverance. We actually had the times we had control of the game. At halftime, it was 21-6. Deep in the fourth quarter, we're up 42-27. And then we made some mistakes, either in special teams, defense, or offense, to allow Central to come storming right back. So credit to them for their kids not giving up and fighting to the end.
And what stood out to you from your team, starting with the offense? I know you have a lot of skill guys, including Zayden Burks, who I heard had a pretty good performance. But who really stood out to you in this matchup offensively?
Well, it all starts, obviously, Zayden Burks had an amazing game, 294 yards, 3 touchdowns. We rushed for over 300 yards as a team, exactly what we want to do. We want to run the football, and we want to stop the run. But our offensive line and our fullbacks, Marcus Lockhart and that offensive line, the combination of these guys being physical every play, I really felt like that was a huge difference in the second half. I really felt like we really took it to their defense, a lot of knockdowns at the end of the game, and really set the tone.
And O-line really doesn't get a lot of credit, but how huge is that O-line to open up the space for your running backs and skill guys to make stuff happen there as well?
it doesn't take you long to figure out if you don't have an offensive line, you're not going to have very much success. I don't care what you're trying to do. They're the key, the heartbeat of our team. And you can have all the skilled guys in the world. If you can't create time and space for those skilled guys, they can't do anything. So, we know we have a pretty good group and they're performing. We've been able to rush the football against everyone we faced so far this year. And so we've been really proud of those guys, and we need to continue that trend for sure to be successful.
So defensively, I know sort of Central trying to get back in the game, but how was the defense being able to hold them without regaining the lead towards the end of the game to secure the victory?
Yeah, we had some great plays, some individual plays from guys making a huge tackle on the 2-point conversion attempt. But we got in that situation because our perimeter defense, to be honest, either the passing game or the outside running game, we did an excellent job against a very talented running back for Central inside. We controlled that, but we did not control the perimeter running game and passing game. And at Fauquier, that's where their strength is. They have guys that can do some things in jet sweep in the passing game, so they have our full attention. We know right now what our weakness is. We're trying to fix that, and we're working hard in practice to do that.
And you mentioned sort of what Fauquier has. What else do you see out of Fauquier that you'd like to try to stop tonight?
Well, 9-3, number one. Those perimeter guys, they're explosive. They're 4x1 state championship relay team, and you see it on film immediately how explosive those guys are. So we need to be aware where they're at all times, and we got to give their offensive line respect. They do a really good job. I think they're much improved from last year overall as a team. So we know it's not going to be like last year. We need to definitely be ready to rock and roll from the start.
And after a big win like last week, Coach, going into the week of practice this week, how are you keeping your kids focused on the opponent ahead and preaching, still working hard and taking it one day at a time and not looking too far ahead?
That win actually was so important. I wanted it so bad for these guys because we keep telling them, we're a talented team. You have to keep attacking the process. They're only going to listen to that for so long until we get results. They're beating a good team like Central, asking them to practice a certain way holds a lot of value, and our kids have embraced the process. They understand what we need to do. And in the weight room on Monday, and then yesterday a defensive practice, they did great. We followed it up with an awesome offensive practice on Wednesday, and we are just ready to rock and roll and do our absolute best. We still haven't played a clean game. We still haven't shown what we can do without all the penalties, because we were at 150 yards penalties again, but we won the turnover battle, and that was a big indicator why we won that football game. But we could have easily gave it away, so we're really working hard to polish that game.
It's Skyline. They travel to Fauquier, showcasing week number 7 of high school football in our local area. Always a pleasure to be joined by the head coach of the Skyline Hawks, Heath Gilbert. Coach, really appreciate your time again, sir.
You're welcome.
This is Kirby's Kickoff, and we are back right after this. For sports fans living in condominium and homeowners associations, as well as business professionals, when you need a reserve study, PM Plus Reserves has been in business since 1990. Their studies are accurate and easy to understand. Check them out when your association needs a study. www.pmplusreserves.com. You can also contact them at 703-803-8436. Once again, www.pmplusreserves.com. Is it finally time to upgrade your home's interior? How about with an authentic farm table made locally from recycled barnwood? Shenandoah Primitives, based right here in Winchester, Virginia, makes farm tables, benches, tables, coffee tables, and a long list of other items for your home decorating needs. At Shenandoah Primitives, function and style are combined for great furniture that will last generations. If you're interested in combining the industrial look of metal with wood, or considering something incredibly unique with a live edge, Shenandoah Primitives turns those ideas into reality. Thinking about a mirror, wine rack, or other accent piece for your home, Shenandoah Primitives can assist with that as well. As a local small business, Shenandoah Primitives is happy to work with each client for a custom design or schedule an appointment to come out and view current inventory. Local, high-quality, handmade items can be found at Shenandoah Primitives. Find us on Facebook and Instagram or visit us at www.shenandoahprimitives.com. Once again, that's www.shenandoahprimitives.com. This is Kirby's Kickoff, powered by Frederick County Parks and Recreation. Hard to believe we've reached week number 7 of high school football. The Clarke County Eagles playing Central of Woodstock last week, falling to Central of Lunenburg on the road. As always, pleased to be joined by the head coach of the Clarke County Eagles, Casey Childs. And Coach, I know another loss in the book, not what you want to hear, not what you want to talk about, but an unfamiliar opponent, maybe some uncharted territory. What did you and the team see out of an unfamiliar opponent in Central out of Lunenburg? Coming into this game, they have not lost a game yet.
Well, they showed why they're undefeated. I mean, that's about the easiest and most accurate answer I can give you. They had tremendous skill players. They were extremely physical. They were extremely athletic. Also, too, up front, man, they were just they got the football really well. So there's no secret to it. It was a long ride for us. That's no excuse for it whatsoever. They just absolutely showed why they're undefeated. And I thought the score is not indicative, but we had a couple kids that I thought that at the linebacker position that actually played fairly well and are getting a little better. So that's what we're trying to build off of at that point. And and our young kids and the lack of experience that we've gotten, they're getting thrown to the fire. And like I told the kids, our schedule's been pretty tough. There's no question about that. We haven't played a bad team, and that's what happens when you've had all the success that we've had for almost 2 decades, is that it's hard to find people to play. And then when you do, and if you're down a little bit or you're so young like we currently are, there's no breathing room for us. So we just got to continue to work and get better. And then hopefully at some point we can get one. And then at that point, just build for the future and just continue to get better and try to keep morale as much as possible, but in the same token, have our standard expectations.
I know obviously not what you want to see out there on the field, but you mentioned the aspect like sort of getting thrown into the fire. And I know you, as a coach, you don't really want to do that to your players, but in a situation like this, not really a choice with the youth of your team, but beyond that, just what can you say about your team in this performance, despite the result on the scoreboard, that really stood out to you positively?
I mean, just we've got good kids. That's Clarke County's got just great kids, and that's not even including the kids that aren't athletes. I mean, we just got good kids here at Clarke, and that's the thing. You don't see a lot of hits hanging. So that's a tribute to them because it's easy to do when you're getting beat like we currently are for the last few weeks, and you're not getting a whole lot of positive things going for you. And it was just like Friday night, we take the early kickoff, we jump off sides to begin the game, so we're sitting in 1st and 15, and then of course we stone them we punt it, and we had we tackled for -2, and then I think they gained 4. It was 3rd and 7, 3rd and 8, something like that, and we have a chance to get off the field on defense, and we busted a coverage, and the guy went 65, 70 yards for a touchdown. So we're having a hard time, limiting big plays, and we're having a really, really hard time, too, moving the football, no matter what we try to do, throw, pass, whatever the case may be. But in the same token, the kids are willing to learn. They're willing to listen. They also understand. I think they're smart kids where they know where we're at right now, and we've got a long way to go where we need to be. But it's also a tribute to our parents. Our parents kind of know what's going on as well, they've been tremendous. I can't say enough about the continued support from our families. And a lot of these kids, we've had their cousins, their older brothers, and whatever the case may be. So they know what we're about as well. But we're slowly getting there, and that's literally the goal for everyone involved in our program right now. Is just to continue to make, even if they're small steps, make sure that they're steps positively. And sometimes that's hard. There's no question about that, because let's be honest with you, Kirby, this is uncharted territory for us as well. In my tenure, since I've been home for almost 2 decades, this is new. This is new for all of us. But in the same token, it's not easy. But in the same thing, it's still football, and you're trying to make these kids better players, and you're trying to help them become young men. And I still think we're doing all those things.
How huge is it? What are maybe the benefits of your players? As you mentioned, they're absorbing and they want to learn as much as they can in the youth of this team. And although the results might not be there to start, but they're eager to learn in hopes that things can trend in a positive direction.
Well, and I think we're learning too that less is more. And obviously when you've got a lot of experience and we've had a lot of experience. We've had a lot of returning guys that played through the system for a number of years, and you can kind of do some more stuff in terminology base and what you're trying to do, expand on offense, expand on defense. And it's easier to do. And I think we're learning that, like right now, man, less is more with everything we're doing. We're trying to really scale back everything that we're doing offensively and defensively, just so they can learn and get to where they need to be in small increment steps. And that's where we're at, man. But like I said, our kids are eager to learn. They ask questions. They do a good job of doing those things, and ultimately they don't give us any issues. And they're good kids, man. And we're going to keep on battling for the next 5 weeks, and like I said, hopefully continue to see the light at the end of the tunnel that they're making progress. And then the ultimate hope is to be in a fourth quarter. And that's what we keep preaching. Let's get to a fourth quarter with a chance to win, and let's go take one. We had that opportunity one time this year against Catoctin and did not take advantage of that. But we're trying to get back to that exact mindset. So hopefully we can get one. But obviously now we're in the Bull Run district, and our district it's one of those, phone booth blood and guts, and everybody's trying to beat everybody up, and it's difficult to do that. And also too, I guess it piggyback on everything. Like I've told the kids, and we talk about it as coaches, no one feels sorry for us. No one feels sorry for Clarke County. When you've got the most wins in the valley since this, in the last 18, 19 years, no one feels sorry for you when you're having a bad year. So, I know that. I keep telling our kids, hey, man, you gotta have to look at ourselves before we look outside, and that's what we keep preaching to them. That we just gotta keep battling and keep playing and keep coaching, and that's what we're going to continue to do.
Let's not make any mistake for any of the listeners, watchers out here this week. Playing Central of Woodstock, not to get Central of Lunenburg confused, just to throw that out there. So Central of Woodstock, Bull Run District foe. I know what's sort of the mindset going into this game. I know your kids are fighting and working for you and the coaching staff, and getting into a Bull Run District game where it's very competitive and fierce. What's sort of the message this week, Coach?
They're going to find out pretty quick. You can't get, I'll be honest with you, you can't simulate what district or league or conference play really is. You just can't. Central's good. I mean, don't let the record fool you with being 2-3. They lost a shootout to Skyline. They lost to a really good North Hagerstown team, and they lost to a really good Broadway team. So they've lost 3 in a row, but let me tell you, they are a good football team. They've probably, along with the Neal kid or James Wood, Central's quarterback is just absolutely tremendous. And then, of course, they're athletic and they're physical. They got good skilled kids as well. But in the same token, the Bull Run District is what it is for a reason. And, we've been fortunate to be the upper echelon for an extended period of time. So, and Central's been there as well. And we know what we're up against. And we're just hoping that we can put something good together to where we can build off of it continuously into league play. But make no mistake about it, the Bull Run District is a good league, and we've got to get to the speed of it. And of course, you have a lot more familiarity with everybody as well, because typically teams are running their same kind of stuff from year to year. But we have got to play more physical. We've got to eliminate the misassignments, and also we have to tackle. I mean, that's one thing. There's a few things that we just have not done really well to give ourselves a chance, and that's what we're trying to build off of. It doesn't make a difference if it's league play or not, but yeah, there's no question about it. This week, it's a different animal because you're playing teams that you see every year, and you also see them in other sports inside your league.
From an outsider looking in, I've heard that this Central is taking some more shotgun snaps, passing, as to oppose previously more running first of a team. If that's the case, what do you see out of Central, and does that affect sort of the preparation going into this game?
No, I mean, yeah, they're still in the shotgun a lot. When they still run a little bit of power eye, but when you have the quarterback that they have, and they incorporate him in the run game. I mean, they're running buck power trap with him as well in a little zone read. So, I mean, when you've got that kind of kid that they've got, that is truly a dual sport or a dual threat quarterback, it creates problems. So I think they're playing to what their strength is. And when you've got a quarterback like him that can throw it, and they got guys that can catch it, and they have a running back that can run, they're playing to their strengths, which is the smart thing to do. But preparing for them, we're preparing. They kind of emulate how James Woods plays. With the Neal kid, they want to throw the ball, but in the same token, they can still run it. And Neal obviously has had a tremendous year, the same way that the kid at Woodstock's having a tremendous year. So he's a good player, and they've got a lot of good players, and we just have to try to, our plan is to try to make a team drive the football and not give up the 60-yard, the 70-yard, 50-yard plays. And those are things that we've really, really struggled to do. And then in the same token, I'm pretty sure I know how they're going to line up to us on offense, for our offense. It's just, can we block? Can we block? Can we hit the right holes? Can we maintain blocks? Can we eliminate the mental assignments or the mental mistakes? And if we do those things, we got to play keep away. We just have to play keep away. We have to do that for the rest of the season. We've got to be able to sustain drives so that it eliminates or it helps mitigate the amount of times that we're on defense. I mean, that's what it comes down to for us right now at the stage that we are.
It's Bull Run District football, Clarke County and Central out of Woodstock, highlighting week number 7 of high school football in our area. It's always a pleasure talking football with the head coach of the Clarke County Eagles, Casey Childs. Coach, really appreciate your time again, sir. We'll catch you next week.
All right, thanks for having me. Take care.
This is Kirby's Kickoff, and we are back with more right after this.
Hey there, Kirby on Sports the Podcast fans. Mark Francis with Icon Real Estate here for you. Remember, if you have any real estate needs, buying or selling, I'm your guy. I would love to help you out. And you can also find me on my own personal podcast, Iconic Talk, where you get a chance to learn about the local real estate market and why Winchester is an amazing place to live. Reach out to me anytime, 540-247-1527, and find Iconic Talk anywhere you get your podcasts.
This is Kirby's Kickoff, powered by Frederick County Parks and Recreation. So glad that you're with us. We're taking a look at Week 7 high school football around our local area. The Millbrook Pioneers travel over to James Wood tonight. Last week, the Pioneers falling to the Shenandoah Warriors at home. Now joined by the head coach of the Pioneers, Nick Manuel. Coach, as always, really appreciate your time. And just first and foremost, after taking a look at the film from a tough game, but it seemed like very physical, competitive on both sides of the football. What sort of your final takeaways from this matchup you had against Shenandoah last week?
Shenandoah, they are what we thought they are, very physical and good up front and definitely can run the ball. And then we got to be able to figure out a way to slow that down and then to be able to establish some kind of run identity ourselves. and limit turnovers if we want to have success, and then find a way to finish in the red zone, which we weren't really able to do very often.
So going into the week of practice, what's sort of the message to your team with most of the positives that you were able to take out of this game against Shenandoah moving into this week against James Wood, and how are you keeping their heads up and just the energy around the team as you move into another week of football?
Well, I think the big motivator is getting to play our crosstown rival, James Wood. That's not hard to get up for. We know that they're good, but we played with some really good teams, and if we can figure out a way to score in the red zone, in theory, we have some of a little bit of a shootout with Shenandoah, but we weren't able to do that. But, just keep to the grind, have that 1-0 mentality. Your record doesn't matter how good it is or how bad it is. We got to just focus on the opponent ahead of us.
And just in your mind, what do you see out of James Wood you'd like to eliminate on the football field to try to secure victory tonight in your mind?
Well, we got to be able to limit the big plays. James Wood's full of explosive, long touchdowns. It's in the passing game, and their quarterback does a heck of a job running the football, who's very, very physical. So if we can limit the big play and then be able to capitalize on turnovers, I think we got a shot, but we have to be able to, throw the football like we did last week with Keon Lewis, and then be able to have somewhat more of a running game to make it competitive.
And just looking at last week's matchup, Coach, the connection with Keon and Rome, especially consistently getting your skill guys involved, and I would imagine giving Keon a lot more confidence when he's making those big plays. How do you and the team look to continue doing that down the line? And in your mind, what's so successful about what they're doing in your offense?
Those guys are just playing football. Like they're such good athletes, and Keon's just such a good leader and has that mental awareness of the game. And then Rome's just such a good athlete. And he's so fast, and he's able to make those incredible explosive plays. So just giving them chances and giving them opportunity is what we need to have. And then a lot of that yardage and those explosive plays came from Rome in the second half. So just finding ways to get him involved early in the game, be able to get him his touches is important. But we recognize that we have a lot of skill players, that are able to make those explosive plays, such as Cam Clarke and Nick McKinney, our tight end Parker Edwards, and our fullback Chris Bradford. All those guys had multiple catches last week, so the more we can get them all involved, the better we are.
Should be a lot of fun as the Millbrook Pioneers travel over to the Ridge campus at James Wood High School, part of Week 7 action across our local area. It's always a pleasure talking football with the head coach of the Millbrook Pioneers, Nick Manuel, right here on Kirby's Kickoff. Coach, certainly appreciate your time again, sir. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks, Josh, for covering our kids and bringing highlight to the sport of football around the area. Looking forward to tonight.
This is Kirby's Kickoff, and we are back with more right after this.
It's Jason, General Manager at Shenandoah Music, here to tell you all about...
Jay, what are you doing here?
Well, Matt, I'm trying to tell the people about our selection of guitars, basses, keyboards, drum sets.
I know that, but I always do the radio spots.
You get to have all the fun. I want to tell everyone about our huge selection, unbeatable prices, unmatched service, and in-depth knowledge.
Jay, I really don't think now is the time to discuss.
So remember, folks, when you think music, think Shenandoah Music in Winchester.
That's my line.
This is Kirby's Kickoff, powered by Frederick County Parks and Recreation. So glad you're with us. Week 7 of high school football as we take a look at another matchup. The James Wood Colonels are back at home facing off against the Millbrook Pioneers. Last week for the Colonels, they defeated Meridian at their place in Falls Church 41-22. Now joining me, the head coach of the James Wood Colonels, Todd Wilson. And Coach, a big win in Meridian, but looking at the first half of this game, trailing 9-7, sort of a slow start there. Can you take me through maybe what clicked from your team in the second half to score 41 points and get a victory over Meridian?
Yeah, we just kind of sleepwalking the first half. I mean, not to take anything away from Meridian, they got a good football team. He's doing a great job with that group down there, and they run the ball and they ball control and they grind it out. It's physical football, and we just weren't up for that challenge. I can sit here and make a bunch of excuses why that is, but we only get so many opportunities to play football, so. We need to do a better job of making sure that they're awake and ready to go from the beginning of the game to the end of the football game. So, that's been addressed, and we'll kind of continue addressing that as we move forward. But it was definitely off to a slow start. We didn't change anything. We didn't even go in, and it wasn't even like we went in at halftime and had to yell and scream or anything. The guys just realized that we're not playing to the standard of football that we're trying to build around here. And second half, they did that, and the score shows.
What really stood out to you from the first half to the second half in terms of any playmakers, and what stood out to you positively just in general?
We were able to get some stops in the second half. We kind of told the guys if we got even in the first half, they really weren't slowing us down a lot offensively. I think the first quarter we may had 2 possessions, and I think one of those came with just a couple minutes left to go in the first quarter, and then we turned the ball over. We can't do that, obviously. But second half, we just executed much better. Our offense and defensive line played much better in the second half, offensively especially. And then, Caden McCullough, he was real dynamic and explosive that night, and Owen was able to get things going on the ground offensively for us as well.
And Caden looked like special teams had a couple big returns there for you. How huge is his impact on the team week in and week out in the versatile set of roles you have him in?
Yeah, I mean it's nice to have those type of options because the 2 guys back there are deep returners is Caden McCullough and Xavier Price. They were kicking it to Caden McCullough, obviously, because the week before Xavier Price had 5 touches, 5 touchdowns. So they probably didn't want to kick the ball to Xavier Price, but I was happy with him kicking it to Caden McCullough. He's just as athletic as Xavier is, and he's physical and he's a really strong kid, and he's got good speed as well. So he set some things up in the second half for us with kick return. The week before he returned one. And then against Meridian, he set our offensive up a couple times with good field position.
And defensively, with how good of a team Meridian has been over this past season, holding them to 22 points, what stood out to you about holding this Meridian team to only 22?
Yeah, I mean, good. I mean, they run the ball well. They got a good quarterback. Like going back to watching last year, they do a lot of some similar things. They're a much better team this year than they were last year. The reason being is because they can throw the ball. They didn't throw the ball, and I don't think they had the ability to do that quite as well last year. This year they have some playmakers in their tight ends. Their quarterback's good. He's a little bit better this year throwing the ball around. So they're not just a team that's going to line up and run every single down. They would throw it in unique situations, and I thought our guys did a good job of stopping the run, and then in opportunities where we had to stop the pass, we did that as well.
So moving on into the matchup ahead, a home matchup against a Northwestern District opponent in the Millbrook Pioneers back at the Ridge campus of James Wood High School. What are you sort of preaching to your team in terms of another district battle at home that usually always draws in a pretty big crowd?
Yeah, I mean, we don't necessarily take week to week. We coach it up as whether it's Meridian, Culpeper, Dominion, Clarke, Shenandoah, Handley, this week, Millbrook. We don't do anything necessarily different. We really try to preach to our kids about focusing on what we need to do. Obviously, we got a game plan and prepare for, what they do offensively and defensively. but we don't really do anything different out of the ordinary just because it's a crosstown team or anything like that. So the guys are just working hard in practice, trying to execute the game plan, and it should be. We're looking forward to it. Excited about how well all the schools in the area are doing. Coach Manuel is going to is and will continue to do a great job over there at Millbrook, and they're not surprising, doing well this year with his first year. So we think there's going to be a good crowd, and hopefully both teams show up and we put on a good show for the community and for the students that are out to support both teams.
And as a coach with James Wood the past couple of seasons, I know last year's in the rear view mirror, but last year Millbrook with a lot of running style out of the single wing with Coach Manuel that has changed. Has that sort of changed, like the scheming and the game planning, and in terms of what you see out of Millbrook, or just such a late a game in October against this team, you sort of gotten a chance to see what they can do and how to prepare best, in a sense?
Yeah, I mean they're a completely different team this year than last year, and then even last year when we played them, it was late in the season, and I think they probably had 12 to 15 kids that were on the injury list last year when they came in to play us. It was completely different ball club than what Millbrook was early in the year. But now that Coach Manuel's taken over, obviously he's changed up offensively and defensively schemes, and we got film just like they got film on us, so we're able to game plan and kind of break down what they're doing and try to do the best job we can to stop. I mean they're a good offensive team. The quarterback's doing a really, really good job. Looking at him from going all the way back to some of the 7-on-7s we were at in the spring together. He has progressed tremendously from the spring until now. So the quarterback has gotten, obviously more comfortable there in the pocket. Number 7 is a heck of a wide receiver. He's not a huge kid, but very shifty and elusive and makes some contested catches. So we definitely have to be prepared to stop both of those guys. And then on the defensive side, they're a little bit different as well. Their linebackers returning from last year, who was really good football player and is really good football player this year. So we just got to make sure we do our job as far as James Wood, his alignment and assignment, execute on offense and do a good job of you can't just focus on one thing. You can't just try to stop the run, but you got to be able to stop the run and the pass against them.
It should be a fun one as the James Wood Colonels host the Millbrook Pioneers, part of Week 7 of high school football in the local area right here on Kirby's Kickoff. Always pleased to be joined by the head coach of the James Wood Colonels, Todd Wilson. Coach, really appreciate your time again, sir, and we will catch you next week.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Josh.
This is Kirby's Kickoff, and we are back with more right after this.
Bed bugs. The only thing creepier than thinking about them is actually having them. Trust me, you don't want to have them. Locally owned and operated Barrett Pest and Termite Services can keep you from having bed bug nightmares and infestations. Call 540-340-3922 to schedule your free inspection and consultation. If bed bugs are already in your home, we'll get rid of them so you can rest easy. We also specialize in keeping homes and businesses free of other pests, including rodents and termites. That's Barrett Pest and Termite Services, 540-340-3922.
This is Kirby's Kickoff, powered by Frederick County Parks and Recreation. Week 7 of high school football. We'll take a look at the Handley Judges, now catching them after a bye week. They play Kettle Run at home at the Handley Bowl this Saturday. And 2 weeks prior, defeating Westmoreland, a Class 1 school out of Montrose, Virginia, shutting them out 42-0. As always, joined by the head coach of the John Handley Judges, Jake Smith. And Coach, I know a long bye week in between the game against Westmoreland in the upcoming matchup against Kettle Run. But after diving into the film, what really stood out to you about your players and your team's ability to shut out an unfamiliar opponent in Westmoreland?
Well, I mean, yeah, I think offensively, first of all, O-line was able to do a good job of, moving people and able to establish a run game early on, which is a point of emphasis for us that week. And then, defensively, anytime you put, 0 points get put up on the board, obviously that's a positive thing. The bigger picture of that program wise, we got to play a lot of guys from a lot of different age groups. A ton of freshmen were able to play in that game. And they gained some valuable experience, which is going to be really important moving forward.
So, Coach, we spoke after the game, talking more in depth about the win, and you straight up said with the bye week coming up, your team needs to win the bye week. So I'm going to ask you, did you win the bye week?
Yeah, I mean, I think we had a great bye week. Number one, it's always difficult when you don't have an opponent, right? And so, we're not particularly prepping for anybody. We're trying to fix ourselves during that time period. We had a lot of meetings, team meetings, player-led meetings, which I think ended up in a positive manner for us. And our kids did a great job of, responding to the things that were discussed and then translating that to the field. We worked pretty much every day but one during that bye week. And I think, we got a lot better from that. We have a lot of inexperienced players on our team. Our roster is senior heavy, but a lot of those seniors who are playing now it's the first time they've ever played football in their life. And so, for us, it gave us a chance to kind of slow back down and get back into the basics and fundamentals of some things that, some of those guys have been missing. And so I think that week was particularly valuable for them. And so it helped bring our veteran group along, as they could kind of aid into some of those teachings as well.
So, with the bye week, I would imagine this comes at the perfect time. Maybe I'm wrong, maybe I'm right, but with the upcoming opponent in the Kettle Run Cougars, a perfect spot for your bye week, knowing the success that Kettle Run has had over the years. But certainly, I would imagine at the same time, you're just focused on your team and yourselves and what you all can control. But did you like sort of the placement of where your bye week fell?
Yeah, I mean, mid-season, I think is a great time for a bye week, halfway through, you got some lingering things, some minor stuff. I mean, it's a sport of football, right? The best you're ever going to feel is on the first day at camp, and so, being able to tailor back on some physicality and practice and kind of, emphasize using our brains a little bit more, I think was a really good thing for us there. But, we do have Kettle Run this week, but they also have a bye week, so they're also off as well. And so, I think that'll be interesting as it plays out, heading into Saturday.
So Kettle Run obviously falling to Millbrook 2 weeks ago. I'm sure you've probably looked at a lot of their film from that game, especially. But just in your mind, what can you as a head coach tell us about Kettle Run and what they sort of bring to the table?
Well, I mean, Kettle Run, in the past 5-6 years has been pretty dominant. I mean, they've been in multiple state titles, multiple region championship games. They have a good program. They have a good culture there. They've established systems on both sides of the football, offensively and defensively. There was a coaching change there. There's not a lot that's different between, the old Kettle Run and the Kettle Run this year. And so, for us, things that Kettle Run does well that, we have to make sure that we're able to do is, number one, we have to stop the zone run game when we're on defense, and we have to stop the play action and bootleg pass. Those two things are what Kettle Run thrives on. They've thrived on it for a long time. They do a great job with it as far as blocking things up in zone, and then that sets up the play action. They can really sell that. And so those are two huge points of emphasis. Offensively, that Kettle Run's going to bring pressure. They brought pressure as long as I can remember and play a lot of man coverage. And so we have to be able to pick that pressure up in the pass game up front, but also we have to pick those pressures up in the run game, to give us a crease so we can spit a couple. And so, those are going to be, huge points of emphasis in this game.
Absolutely. And at the same time, Coach, how do you sort of keep your kids focused on a bye week with no opponent, preaching to stay within themselves, focused on what they can control and not look too far ahead in a sense?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's always good to stay grounded. I'm a firm believer in talking about season goals in the off season. And then once the season starts, I think the daily emphasis is just on winning that day. Right. So whatever that looks like, whether that's a film session, whether it's a lifting session, whether we're at practice, whether it's blitz pickup, inside run, individual, what have you, we have to continue to win that particular day in that particular period. And so I think our kids are doing a good job of holding tight to that philosophy. I think it's a great way to approach things each week. And so, as far as challenges go or what have you, I mean, it's just kind of how we operate on a regular basis. And so, nothing's really changed there. I mean, we've done some things in practice. We switched some guys around to make it a little bit more competitive. But outside of that, I mean, it's really a kind of rinse and repeat type thing.
There you have it. The Handley judges are back at the Handley Bowl, which is always a beautiful place to play, and they host the Kettle Run Cougars. As always, pleased to be joined by the head coach of the John Handley Judges, Jake Smith, right here on Kirby's Kickoff. Coach, certainly appreciate your time again, sir.
Yep, thanks for having me.
This is Kirby's Kickoff, and we are back right after this. Are you looking to take the final steps in order to get your driver's license? Look no further. On the Road Driving School offers teen and adult driving, along with classroom sessions for teens and adults, DMV re-exam classes, and driver improvement classes. On the Road Driving School has what you need in order to get on the road. Contact them today at 540-869-6105. That's On the Road Driving School. 540-869-6105. On the Road Driving School will get you on the road. Fall is here, and New Look Landscaping has everything your home needs to look its best. Brighten your yard with colorful mums available now. And don't forget, New Look offers professional power washing to give your home a fresh, clean look. Call New Look Landscaping today at 540-327-1244 or email them 2025.nullook@gmail.com. Wrapping things up right here on Kirby's Kickoff. We're powered by Frederick County Parks and Recreation. Just a reminder, a lot of fun events, activities coming up. Youth basketball, one of the biggest leagues that Frederick County Parks and Recreation has to offer. Early bird sign up until October 12th. Registration deadline in November. You can register for youth basketball for anybody who has children who are eager to play basketball at all different skill sets and skill levels. Visit them at fcprd.net to register. Also, the New York City trip coming up as well. And even before that, Winter Wonderland and the Thanksgiving Day 5K. Winter Wonderland in the winter months, the Thanksgiving Day 5K, an annual race held at Shenandoah High School, and that's done on Thanksgiving morning. So for more details from our friends at Frederick County Parks and Recreation, fcprd.net. This has been Kirby's Kickoff. Week number 7 is coming up in just a little while. I want to thank each and every one of you for taking the time to stick with us here on Kirby's Kickoff. Do us a favor. If you're on the YouTube page, make sure you subscribe, give us a like, share this video with all your friends and family. Follow us on all audio platforms as well. The support is greatly appreciated, and this is a lot of fun, so we appreciate any and everybody for taking time out of their day to tune into Kirby's Kickoff. So without further ado, we hope you enjoy week 7 around the local area when it comes to high school football. We will catch you right back here for week 8 come next week. Have a great rest of your day.